We are here, the Double A Fantasy Football Podcast. It's live right now. Won't be tomorrow, but we really appreciate you guys listening, following on TikTok, Twitter, all of the social media. I'm here with AJ. I am Alan. We are awesome co-hosts. Yeah, we're gonna jump into things. We got news, and then we have a preview for you guys of a division. AJ, how is everything going? You were telling me you updated your rankings. A lot of things are moving around.
Yeah, every day, man. Every day. Things are going good. Socials are going good. If you guys are watching on YouTube, thank you. Subscribe down below. Hit the like button. If you are not listening on YouTube, you need to go and check out the video version on YouTube of the podcast. If you're listening to the audio on Apple and Spotify, probably our two
Yes,
most
sir.
popular. And then follow us on Twitter as well. Those will be in the descriptions of the audio and the video, so we don't even have to plug them anymore. Just look in the description. You'll follow us. We don't have to know them or screw them up or anything. So
How about that?
yes.
Yeah. So we have the news, and then what's the division? NFC
North. Yes.
North.
Yes.
We're gonna go in the order of Vikings, Packers, Lions, Bears. Oh my! But starting off with the news here, biggest thing: Deshaun Watson, 11 games, $5 million, and he's coming back against Houston.
Yeah, in Houston.
Houston.
Well. I was okay. I mean, I was more excited when he was going to be coming back in Baltimore after just 6 games.
Okay.
This is strictly, and I know some people can't like separate it, but this was just strictly the football side of things. Like as a fan of the Browns, I was excited to see him return. Obviously, I know some weird stuff went on. You know, it is what it is. I wasn't there. I don't know. But now the Browns have a lot of work to do if they want to be interested in making the playoffs because their schedule's not too bad while he's gone.
Yeah.
But it's like half really good teams and half bad teams, and they need to they don't always take care of the bad teams.
4-7 is realistic.
But they might need to do 5 and 6 because
they will for sure.
You know, how good is Watson going to be when he comes back? And they only have 6 games to do it. After they have to win all of those if they go 4-7. Likely, it's likely with
they have honestly a tough first 11 games without him. I mean, that's a lot of the schedule, so I guess that's easy to be tough. But I mean, the easy people they're playing, Steelers are in there, Falcons.
They're right out of the
Jets.
gate. They go Panthers. I think Panthers, Jets.
Yep.
Falcons.
Yep.
Steelers, Dolphins. I think
so. The Steelers, Dolphins, I think they could lose to.
Yeah, for sure.
I could very well see them beating the Steelers though, and then losing to the Panthers week 1.
Yeah, they
Baker
could
exactly.
I mean,
that's how the NFL goes.
And Baker's looked really sharp, so of course he has.
Yeah. Speaking of Baker, we can keep talking about Watson if there's anything else, but Mayfield's apparently poised to start week 1.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why Matt Rule is trying to keep it a secret, as if I don't know if they're just trying to be nice to Darnold or what, but.
I mean, at least he's saying something. He doesn't even have to say anything, right? Like he could keep him in the dark until game day.
Yeah.
So at least we have the little hint that it's likely going to be Mayfield, which it should be.
When coaches do that, do you think they do that to the team as well? Like all the receivers don't know who's going to be throwing them the ball.
Oh, I guarantee it, because they want everybody to get ready as if they're going to play. Like why else would you?
Yeah, but they're so different. Like the quarterbacks, the way they play are so different than each other. So the chemistry you're building is...
You really think Darnold plays that much different than Baker?
No, as I said that, I realized those two don't play that much different. Yeah. But when you're talking about like if Jimmy G went to the Browns and Jacoby Brissett and Jimmy G, that
would be very different. Yeah, but in that case, I think you would know that Jimmy's starting. Whereas Baker and as much as I think Baker's
last year, the Niners, they did it with Jimmy G and Trey Lance for the longest time.
Yeah, but again, people in the know, I never had any doubt that it was Jimmy G. And even this year, you were playing that card when you knew damn well it was going to be Trey Lance.
Last year it was Jimmy G, though. We knew it was.
Yeah.
I said until they said it, but yeah, we know. On top of things with the news, Miles Sanders not practicing again. I think you said, is this
3 straight?
3 straight.
Mm-hmm.
Kenneth Gainwell was already on the hot seat in a good way, not a bad way. As far as drafting, I guess that's usually a negative term.
Yeah, he's fired.
Yeah, he's going to be gone soon.
Yeah.
No, he's actually, I think, going to start rising in ADP as Sanders speculation starts to go.
Yeah. Watch out for Boston Scott. He always finds a way to get in there.
With running backs on the topic here, Jaylen Warren is coming in as the RB2 for the Steelers. He looked great in preseason. And I know you said that they were kind of like Benny Snell people.
I meant Pittsburgh, the fans.
I would say they do.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, myself, I never really saw anything in Benny Snell or Jalen Samuels. Jalen Samuels, I could see for like, you need 1 yard and you need to get it. Like,
yeah.
But
Snell played pretty good when he got in. So yeah, I can understand why, the backup underdog, that's like right in your wheelhouse. Benny Snell, full-time gig. He's the next Phillip Lindsay.
He had the spinner in his mouthpiece, I think. Michael Thomas is practicing and should be good week 1. He is going to rise quickly. Yeah. I don't know if he nobody knows if he should. I think he should. He's healthy. He's good to go. But I think people will hold on to that iffy, and I think he'll probably end up 3rd round, I think, is where he's probably going to go once redrafts start.
So I have updated my rankings for receiver. Before I did that, Michael Thomas was 25 for me, wide receiver 25. Right now, he's wide receiver 17, right ahead of DJ Moore for me.
And he's going around pick 72.
And honestly, I will probably have him higher than that. I have him right behind Jalen Waddle. But it's pretty likely that I'll put Michael Thomas at least up to wide receiver 15, right ahead of Terry McLaurin, because he's good, and Jameis Winston will throw him the ball. Like, there's no doubt about it.
Well, there is real life preseason football tonight. Bears at the Seahawks. I'm kind of only bringing that up for the sake of seeing what Khalil Herbert does and looking at what their running backs do for the Seattle Seahawks. I know
for
Ken
your
Walker,
sake.
Yeah. Rashad Penny, he's not going to play tonight. Ken Walker, the third, is going to go through surgery. It might be a hernia, it might not. They're not really telling us, and that's okay. I don't have to know.
HIPAA.
Last piece of news that I brushed off as nothing, and then AJ made me dive a little deeper, and I think we have a story here with Brady. So he brought up Brett Favre back in the day, sitting out, making a big stink. I might retire, I might not. They didn't know. They shipped him off. Brady has been out. He hasn't come to training camp, and there hasn't been a lot of input from the coaches. At first, my first thought was just the fact of it. He is the GOAT. He's old. He can do what he wants. He's just waiting until he has to practice so his body doesn't, take anything extra than it needs to. But then I started reading the stuff. When quoted, they asked Todd Bowles about what's going on with him, and so he basically said, "So I'll need some time off during training camp starting August 11th." Is what Brady said. They said, "When will you be back?" And Brady said, "Whenever," as if like that's just like almost rude to a point.
But I wonder if he did say, who's saying he said that?
It's through Pro Football Talk. And they have the quotations right in the middle of everything, but there's nothing like nobody said this person said this, then this. Yeah. So it's very, but
whenever juicy, I don't know if I believe he said that. Come on.
What's juicy is that they're speculating now here that before the Dolphins tampering came to light, Brady's status wasn't in question. Since then, he's missed plenty of time. But
why would he get in trouble with tampering? It's all about the teams talking to them. I don't know if that has anything. Giselle was probably mad he decided to go back and was like, "You need to spend some time with us on the cruise ship in Brazil."
I mean, the other thing to debunk that is, like, I know they said they haven't since then. He's missed plenty of time. Well, what time? Like, there's no time to practice. Report. Like, he's just like, I'm not doing this right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's not anything he's missing out on.
Yeah. Well, it's good to be there for your team. That's all.
Yeah. Physically and spiritually.
All right. So let's jump into the NFC North. We ready to go?
Yeah. The Vikings.
All right. Yes. The Minnesota Vikings. This division has more fantasy intrigue than I think people might give it credit for. Were you feeling that way as you were going through and looking? Like, initially we're like, NFC North, but every team has some value.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. There's a couple like obvious guys, but then it's very like
there's a lot of questions as well.
Like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, that's very exciting.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how you can say it's not. Even TJ Hawkinson is now going under the radar.
Well, like, everybody knows that the AA Fantasy Football Podcast Team of the Year is the Lions. We'll get to them.
Yeah.
Let's start with the Vikings. Let's talk about our boy Kirk Cousins. I'm almost happy Bob's not here. Actually, I'm kind of mad he's not here because then we could have just talked Kirk Cousins up while he trashed him. Cousins is a great, solid, late quarterback. I mean, he's proven it over the last couple of years. If you're going to wait, he's going as quarterback 15 right now. Last year, he averaged 20.5 points per game. So almost 21 points a game. And if you wait until the 10th, 11th round, you're going to get him, and he can be your starter, especially if you want to stack him.
Yup. And he finished his QB 11, played 16 games. I'm aiming for some people, and if they're not there for me, I'm passing on Stafford. Rodgers I'd probably take over Cousins.
Rodgers actually going ahead of him currently, but like 5 spots.
That's what I mean, though. But like, I'd be okay if all those guys and I ended up with Kirk Cousins. Like, that's who I'm kind of aiming for those late rounds. But he is the divider, I think, between the next group of quarterbacks.
If we put him in tiers, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree. I will say, there's another one in this division we'll talk about actually, but I mean, we may overplay the importance of a rushing quarterback because last year Tom Brady finished as QB3. Like, you can still have a statue quarterback who just throws and throws for touchdowns and still do well in fantasy. We do love the rushing upside. We love it.
The big difference is 4 to 6 points passing.
But in a league like ours, with the 2 quarterbacks, every touchdown is equal.
Well, so people are thinking about like Matt Stafford, Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, just off the eye test, off of what happened last year, they'd say Matt Stafford.
Well, he did finish quarterback 6 last year.
Well, they also, I don't think they even had 10 rushing touchdowns last year.
Yeah, and they will definitely run more this year.
Ridiculous, yes. And so where Dalvin Cook will have more rushing touchdowns too because he didn't do it a lot, they still it's just Kirk Cousins is definitely going to be fine. I'm not worried about having him on a team. He is, I think he could probably get you quarterback 2 or 3 a couple weeks. I don't know if he'll ever get QB1 on the week though.
Yeah, it just depends, but he's definitely a reliable week-to-week guy. If you average 20 points a game at quarterback and you waited till the end to get him, that's fine because you're going to get value everywhere else.
Loaded, yeah.
But speaking of Dalvin Cook, let's move on to him. Interesting guy this year, kind of where he's going. I keep seeing him go between like 6 and 9, but usually like right around 6, 7. And it just depends what kind of drafters you're drafting with. Sometimes that'll be Cooper Kupp and Jefferson. Sometimes they go 7 straight running backs because people are afraid of the early receiver. I have moved him around in my rankings a lot. Dalvin Cook, he's very volatile in my eyes, but there's just no way. Like last year, he had 249 carries. That's kind of a lower workload, but he does miss games. So if he had played the whole season, I think he'd be over 300 carries. 1,159 yards, 6 touchdowns. In 2020, he had 16, and in 2019, he had 13. There's no way he doesn't have positive regression on those touchdowns. Like, those are going to go back up. With that said, let's say your draft goes Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler. Full PPR. Who are you taking at 4? Let's say you have to. Let's say you're like
5.
4.
I thought you said Eckler went at 4.
No, he went at 3. So Taylor, McCaffrey, Eckler.
Okay.
Let's say it's full PPR and you don't want to take a receiver early. Are you taking Cook there? Or are you taking Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara?
I think I would take Cook. Like, I think Kamara, I don't know if we'll get any certainty at any point.
Right.
I think I'd still take Cook. The way their offense is going to be explosive, I think he's going to get more PPR. Kamara and him are almost like neck and neck for me. Joe Mixon's fine too, but I just am worried about the amount of carries he had last year and the amount of carries they're going to have this year now.
Who's that? Cook?
Mixon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Mixon's definitely – he's been a workhorse. The reason I ask that is because this is whoever has 4 – for me, I would easily go with Kupp or Jefferson because I don't want to make that decision. I feel like the drop-off on the next running backs starts after Eckler. And really, some people could argue and say it's after McCaffrey. So if I'm at 4, I think the safe pick is Kupp or Jefferson, whoever tickles your fancy, and we'll get to Jefferson in a second. But I don't know. I think Cook's up for a big year. He should be, I think, 5 at the latest.
Positive touchdown regression is coming. The offense
there's
is moving
no way he doesn't get 10 touchdowns this year. Like, there's just no way.
The big thing, though, is I know you say – so Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, boom, they're in a tier. Next tier, Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
Put Joe Mixon in there if you really want to. Problem with all 4 of those, except Mixon, is there's something like lurking in the background. Now, they're all apparently healthy. Dalvin Cook has a shoulder injury that he wears some sort of mechanism on that he's, I don't know, cyborg and is fine.
No, that's the thing Baker wore last year. Like that black, it's like a plate.
That worries me a lot, though.
Yeah. Well, he misses 3 to 4 games every year. It's a guarantee. So you're almost strapped into jumping early to get Madison.
Yep.
Which, let's talk about Madison. He's probably the number 1 handcuff in football. I mean, I would think so. When your starter misses a game, nobody scores more than Alexander Madison.
The only other handcuff that you could say is like Pollard is like. I'm even going to skip that and say Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon.
Yeah,
that's not a handcuff, though. That's just another flex.
He's like an equal partner in the backfield.
It is Madison.
But
I don't know if he has standalone value.
I agree with that. Until we see them mix it more, it's just always 20-plus carries to whoever's playing. Over the last 2 years, Alexander Madison, when he gets 20-plus carries, he averages 23.5 points per game in fantasy. It's only a 5-game sample, but 20-plus carries, 23.5 points. Like,
I know that the coaches there, Kevin O'Connell, like they might play fantasy. They don't care about that in regards to what they're going to do game plan wise.
Yeah.
But how don't you start to be like, okay, let's just lighten the load on Dalvin Cook in general.
Especially when he gets hurt every year.
So there's a chance now that we're kind of talking about that. I might put Henry and Kamara ahead of him just because of that.
That's what I've done in my rankings. I now have Derrick Henry at 4 in standard half PPR. I have Henry in 4 and full PPR, and then I have Kamara and then Cook. But like, if somebody wants to take Dalvin Cook at 4, I will not argue with you. He is a massively talented back, and if you plug Madison in your bench with him, it takes up a bench spot, but it's a valuable one because Cook's probably going to miss a couple games at least, and that's just how it goes.
You're not going to lose the week. You know, if you have a handcuff anywhere else, there's a good chance you lose the week, except for a couple of guys. But he's not going to lose you the week if you have to use the handcuff.
Let's talk about the other number 4 pick that we would consider at that point, and that's Justin Jefferson. He's currently going as wide receiver 2. He's going as early as 6th overall on average. In 2021, he averaged 19.4 points per game. And the big thing while I was doing my research that stood out to me is he only had 4. He played every game last year. He only had 4 games where he had less than 8 targets. And to me, that is like, nothing is more, I guess, solidifying to where I value you as a receiver than targets, because that means you are being included in the play calls every down.
Thielen was hurt for some of the year, right?
Yes.
So he did have a 29% target share, which is high.
Yeah, it'll go down. It'll go down.
Let's say that goes to 24%, which is that's like where Devontae Adams has been for years.
Yeah.
He had 23 red zone targets. He's the guy in the red zone. Irv Smith is hurt, so he's still going to be. That's what hurts Adam Thielen, because that's usually his area. I mean, I think Thielen does have a bounce back year this year and is perfectly fine, especially where he's going.
Well, funny you say bounce back, because he averaged 17.4 points per game in 11 games.
So a bouncier.
Yeah, like he was doing great. He just got hurt and missed basically the last 6 games of the year. Thielen's going as wide receiver 28 in between the 6th and 7th rounds right now. A lot of people are worried about him. They're worried about the age. They think he's hitting a wall. He has been injured a couple times over the last couple of years and missed time. I could see that, but like, it's still hard to. It's not somebody I'm going after. I'll say that. I'm not like, yeah, I'm gonna try to get Thielen in the 7th here, but he's one of those guys you fall into, and then during the year you're like, oh, he's pretty good. Like, he scores and he gets me points.
He's a guy I'm okay taking when like Robinson isn't there, or Allen Robinson, or the guys we have in that round, because the leagues we're in are competitive. They're not going to have some of those people there when we want them. I'd be okay if he fell into my lap.
Let's do
that type of situation.
Let's do a little this or that. We gotta do it. Actually, he's climbing up a tiny bit. Right next to each other, Allen Robinson or Adam Thielen.
Allen Robinson.
I agree. Adam Thielen or Darnell Mooney. That's a good one.
Darnell Mooney. I'm going Darnell.
I agree. I think when you're in the 6th, 7th round, you want upside at this point, and I think Mooney has the higher ceiling. Right now, Adam Thielen or Michael Thomas. I know that's not even going to be relevant.
I would go Michael Thomas.
Yeah, and I wouldn't think twice about it. Here's a good one, and actually, no, I'm not even going to do that one. What about Adam Thielen or Gabe Davis?
The upside in Gabe Davis.
I agree. And he's going like 7 picks after him right now, which is crazy to me. I was going to go with Hunter Renfrow versus Thielen, but I already know where you stand. I've never seen someone turn their back on somebody they love so fast. It's pretty sad. It's like the biggest heel turn in
You
fantasy.
turned your back on Rashad Penny this year. You did it just as quick.
No, come on.
Yeah.
Last year, you didn't even rank him in our top 25 running backs, and I did. I still have love. It's a long-lasting love. Let's talk about the third receiver on this team that I think nobody is talking about, and I don't know why. Because Thielen could easily get hurt. I mean, he did great last year, and that's KJ Osborne. He's going as wide receiver 74. Honestly, I feel like I would rather wait for Osborne and hope that there's some upside with him than take Thielen half a round before. When Thielen did not play his 6 games, KJ Osborne averaged 13 points a game. Like, he's pretty good. I mean, I know that's less than what Thielen was doing, but if you're somebody who believes in Thielen's decline because of his age and his injury history, I don't have a problem with you going with KJ Osborne. Thielen maybe misses some time, and you have somebody to throw in at your flex.
KJ, who was it with the Rams last year? That
Van Jefferson.
They were kind of like comparable as far as that third string.
Yeah.
Could blow up from game to game. I think both of them are going to be in that same position next year where they're going to be on the waiver wire and they're going to be somebody people are throwing around a lot. I think if you get lucky and have somebody that blows up the first week or two and you don't think they're going to continue moving, you can throw KJ Osborne in there with it and make it a solid trade to get somebody.
Yeah. Irv Smith. Somebody that we always have hope for. He missed the entire year last year with an injury. Has injured himself again in camp, in practice, with a thumb surgery, I believe it was. As far as I remember, receivers catch the ball with their hands, and on people's hands are thumbs. Yeah. So I don't know how. I feel like I'm already out on him, even though I
am too.
I was happy about him, and now I'm like out.
A tight end for Kirk Cousins hasn't seen a 15-plus target share since Jordan Reed in 2015.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, Washington days.
I kind of like the idea of Irv Smith being there with the offense that they're going to start to run and implement, but it's with his hand injury, I'm just kind of looking elsewhere.
But if I could backtrack a little bit back on KJ Osborne, to clarify, he's going as wide receiver 78. Not 78th overall.
Oh.
So to me, that is just
drafting.
That's that's 213th overall. That's absurd. Basically undrafted. I mean, he's going around some guys that I would draft ahead of him. Like, Nico Collins, I think I would take him because I just think there's a world where Nico Collins becomes a second-year breakout guy with the amount of time that the Texans are going to have to throw. They're going to be trailing a lot. But like Odell Beckham Jr. is going ahead of him, Corey Davis, Sammy Watkins, AJ Green, Josh Palmer, Marvin Jones, Van Jefferson, Robbie Anderson.
Is AJ Green with the
He's
Cardinals
a free
still?
agent. No,
yeah.
He's
I mean, both him and Odell are free agents.
Yeah, I don't think he's on a
I didn't think he was.
No, I think he might have re-signed in Arizona. Yeah, he did. He did. Okay. That's how irrelevant he is at this point. But I'm just saying, KJ Osborne, there's some upside there to where he shouldn't be going as the 78th wide receiver. That's all I wanted to really point out, I guess. Let's move on to the Packers. Yes, a team that has always provided multiple positions of fantasy relevance, which I still think they will this year. Aaron Rodgers. This is crazy. Like, this is how you know we're getting old, when guys like this start falling to quarterback 11 right now. It's just out of my mind. I understand why. The loss of weapons, the idea that...
Well, no, MVS too.
Yeah, and the idea that... the game plan's probably going to change a little bit. They're going to slow down, I think, a little bit compared to, whenever you'd watch the Packers on TV, I feel like they would take chunks of 25 to 30 yards per play and they would score within 3 minutes. Like, it was not hard at all. I think they're going to have to work a little bit more this year for their offense without Devontae Adams.
Supposedly he has the itch back for football.
Oh, okay. 2 straight MVP years. Where to go? I don't know.
I mean, last year he was wishy-washy. I almost had the idea at the beginning of this year that if he doesn't like the way his weapons are going, he could just retire in the middle of the year because he's wild.
You know what?
But
I know people kind of don't like him. Sometimes like he rubs people the wrong way with certain things, especially the vaccination thing last year was like...
Yeah.
But some people love that. It's like a 50-50 thing. But I actually love how... I guess transparent and open he is, because he's on that with Pat McAfee literally twice a week, and he literally will say whatever.
Was so funny.
My God, that was, who was that with? That wasn't with McAfee. That was somebody else.
Was it Big Cat?
It was Big Cat Barstool. Yeah. That was hilarious. How many grandmas have you killed, you think? God. But football,
I'm staying away from him.
Okay.
And it's not because I just don't want to take the chance on him, I guess. Like, again, if I
really
miss
taking
my guys,
a chance, though?
No, it's not.
This guy's absurd.
So the biggest thing with any of his weapons is the targets are going to be there, but are they going to catch them?
Right, and we'll get there to that.
Yeah, and a lot of them, the big thing with his receiving weapons, not the running backs, is that Devontae Adams deserved the amount of targets he had. So there's no reason for him to look elsewhere. Because he has all these other options, there's a chance he just flatlines from what he did last year and is just as consistent and everything's fine because he has so many people that he's now having to look to.
Yeah, and especially the running backs, and we'll get to them in 1 second, but just wanted to go over some guys that are going behind Aaron Rodgers currently in drafts, which these ADPs are definitely getting more accurate because people are drafting. Like, it's a little early.
Best ball and stuff, and now it's redraft leagues.
So behind Aaron Rodgers is Russell Wilson, Matt Stafford, Trey Lance, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, and if you really want to get froggy, Tua and Justin Fields. I mean, there's at least 4 guys that I would wait for behind Rodgers, and I'd be perfectly content. And if you're really like, there's some people who believe Tua will be very fantasy relevant this year with the addition of Tyreek Hill and the new offense and Cedric Wilson, all the tools. And with Justin Fields' rushing upside, a lot of people have him near their, not their top 10, but right on that verge of top 12, 13, 14, 15, which is fair because last year, and we'll get to him, he finished pretty strongly. So
Rodgers was just consistent last year. Almost 2 touchdowns in every game.
Yeah, I mean, he's been absurd forever.
Right.
Let's talk about the running backs because these are the guys I think everybody wants to own or should want to own. We'll start with Aaron Jones because for now, he's the main guy. And by main guy, I mean he's like, the guy everybody knows and expects and will draft high. He's currently going RB11. Last year, he finished RB11. Fair point. He's going 19th overall, so middle of the second round, top and bottom. I've seen him all over the second round. He averaged 15.3 points per game last season. He was pretty consistent. Where are you on Aaron Jones? Is RB11 kind of where you would put him?
Yep. I would be
agree.
perfectly fine getting him. I'd be fine if you're somebody getting in the second round, starting the turn, and you take him right off the bat.
Yeah.
I think because he's around that DeAndre Swift zone. If you're looking at the upside of DeAndre Swift's receiving game, Aaron Jones is going to get that this year. Last year, he had a 12% target share as far as passes go. They don't have anybody else to throw to except Lazard that we know of. That's concrete. That isn't a rookie, and he is great on the wheel route.
Yeah. He's certainly has a connection with Aaron Rodgers in the passing game. I think that goes up a lot. The target share is going up for Aaron Jones. He is definitely going to be the receiving back this year out of that backfield. I mean, he's a weapon. I wouldn't be surprised to see him with 8-9 targets a game out of the backfield because that is for sure. Aaron Rodgers knows what to expect out of Aaron Jones. At the receiver position, he is definitely not sure what to expect, and we'll get to it in a second, but Aaron Jones PPR, I wouldn't even care if you took him in the first round. I think he has tremendous upside with catching the ball this year on top of running the ball.
He was up and down last year, though. I felt like he had games where it's like, oh, he's the guy I expected. And then other games, it's like, man, what is going on that they're not giving him the ball? And that's because of A.J. Dillon.
A.J. Dillon currently going.
Rightfully deserves it.
RB25, 62nd overall. I just think this is a pure steal, and I don't know what people are hesitant on with him. Just on the eye test alone, this guy rumbles through everything. He makes yardage happen even when it's not there. Last year, by the way, finished RB23. That means he finished as an RB2, and he didn't even play, he wasn't getting full-time snaps. From week 10 on, he averaged 14 carries a game. He scored 5 touchdowns in the 7 games, and he led from carries from the 5-yard line against Aaron Jones, 15-5.
He had the same amount of receptions last year as Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
So I know Aaron Jones is going to be the receiving back, but A.J. Dillon's going to have that same upside.
Well, I think these two are going to be on the field a lot together.
They have to.
Aaron Jones will be in the slot.
Yep.
He'll be moving around. They're gonna do a lot with both these guys, and because of that, I think A.J. Dillon's the better value. I mean, honestly, I could see him finishing RB18. And if Aaron Jones finishes RB11 and Dillon finishes RB18, the difference between their points per game week to week, where you're getting Dillon, that's going to help you win a league.
I mean, and also, what if Aaron Jones gets hurt?
Oh, I
mean, know what I mean?
Yeah.
Aaron Jones is going to be turning 28. He's hitting that 27 running back age. A.J. Dillon he is an RB. I mean, he would be going, if he was the RB1, no Aaron Jones, he'd be going top 5, no doubt.
You think?
I do. Him and Javonte, I kind of put in the same category. They also have the same makeup in the backfield.
I don't see him quite that high. I actually picture A.J. Dillon more like Zeke than Javonte. This guy's going to be if Jones wasn't there, he'd be the bell cow. He's going to get close to 20 carries a game. He's also going to get some passing work. Javonte
A.J. Dillon's just younger than all of those guys in that category.
Sure. I don't mean it like that. I just mean what you would expect game to game from him. Javonte, I think, would be a top 3 running back if he didn't have Melvin Gordon. I mean, he's absurd. But I love A.J. Dillon. Don't get me wrong. So basically, to sum it all up, we like both these running backs. Honestly, I wouldn't even care if you had them both on your fantasy team as your RB1 and RB2 or your flex, wherever, however your team makeup is. I would not care. I think you'd be fine. I would care. Oh, I'm sure you would, but I don't know why it would matter. A.J. Dillon finished as RB23. He was an RB2. Aaron Jones finished RB1 or RB11 as an RB1. I mean, they make up points together that equal an RB1 and 2 on your team. Let's talk
about sleeper.
Yes.
The guy. I don't know.
The guy on paper that seems like the RB1 or the wide receiver 1 on this team.
Correct.
Allen Lazard. So people don't believe that he's the wide receiver 1 or if he's worth any time because he's going wide receiver 44. It's like the 10th round. In my research, in games with 5+ targets, and that was a sample size of 7 games last year, he got 5+ targets. He averaged 17.9 points per game in PPR. He had 7 touchdowns in those 7 games as well.
I was going to say it's a little under half of his red zone targets ended in a touchdown.
I don't understand why he's going so late.
No, and that was on 11%, 12% target share.
Yeah, that's going up.
It's just, it's going to be so easy. He is going to be the main guy with some chemistry there.
Yeah.
I also think Tunyon, who we'll get to, is also going to have the chemistry. But outside of that, Christian Watson, who's not there right now, who's injured, he's not building any chemistry with him. And then Romeo Dobbs. I always forget how to say it. Romeo Dobbs.
There's the debate continues. I think Dobbs is like a real thing. I mean, Rodgers gave him a stamp of approval.
He put him in his place yesterday, though.
How
he kind of came out saying he was just kind of putting him, just basically being transparent, saying like, just as much as I like them is just as much as they got a lot of work to still do.
Sure. And I mean, he's a 7th round rookie. But yeah, I mean, Lazard seems like an absurd value based on the sample size of basically half a season that we got last year.
Right.
And that was with Devontae Adams there. So I just don't understand. No MVS, no Devontae Adams. I think Cobb is still there.
Yeah.
But that's he's not fantasy relevant to what we're talking about. Lazard is like 6'4", isn't he? 6'3", 6'4". Yep. Yes. I mean, he's a big target. He's just like Devontae Adams in the way that he is going to be on the outside. That is who Rodgers is going to trust first in the receiving game.
Well, I was going to say, is Romeo Dobbs the next guy that... I mean, he's getting the publicity, so I think a lot of people are willing to take the chance on that alone. But is he actually the next guy people have to try to go for? Because it's not going to be Christian Watson until we see something. Maybe second half of the year.
I think Dobbs is worth a late round flyer if you buy into that. He was a great deep threat in college. That was like what he did. He was a deep ball home run hitter. Green Bay doesn't really have that in my eyes. And so that position or that role is open. And if it doesn't matter where you're drafted, if you can get open and you're making the catches, Rodgers is going to get the ball there. So
that's all he cares about.
So if Lazard is doing everything in between, getting some deep balls, but everything else, then Romeo Dobbs could be the deep ball guy. I think he should be drafted.
The only reason I'm asking is because, of course, Sammy Watkins is trying to make a living there with the Packers.
No.
Excuse me, I keep burping. I don't have any... I'm not trying to take any chances on Sammy Watkins. Maybe get that week 1 performance and trade him away like he always does.
Last week it kind of wore off, or last year it kind of wore off.
Did.
The week 1, he still had like more catches than any other week, but it was still pathetic. But yeah, Romeo Dobbs, if you take him in your last round, I don't think that's crazy at all. And I think you'll know within a couple weeks if he's going to be a part of anything. So
where Irv Smith is where Robert Tunyon now is for me. He did have the ACL injury last year halfway through the season, but we saw it the year before where he got all the touchdowns. We definitely saw the come down, and I don't think that's what's going to happen. But I think as far as the late round flyers go for tight ends or even streamers, Tunyon is definitely somebody that I feel like could, you could fly with a couple weeks here or there, especially after the first week and we see how the target share is going everywhere. I think that is kind of where I'm leaning if I can't get any of the tight ends I want early on.
Just for reference, and not that my rankings matter or anything, it's just where I have them. I have Irv Smith at 16 and Tunyon at 20. So they're not that far.
Yeah, again, streaming type of option, I would not spend a draft pick on him unless it's like I have to, the league forces you to pick a tight end and you have to at the last second or last round. But I think he's just somebody to keep an eye on the way we saw the production 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, Lazard may not be the only red zone threat on this team. Tunyon could be back to catching touchdowns up the seam like he was 2 years ago.
You know who I won't keep an eye on?
I
Jared Goff.
yeah. You know, I don't know. Goff's not bad, but
no.
As far as fantasy goes, he's like a backup for a super flex. Like he can be your third quarterback.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, there's really no interest. You know, he does a good job of making guys fantasy relevant without making himself fantasy relevant. There may not be a better quarterback at doing that, honestly.
Maybe Jimmy G. But I
guess
like he had more fantasy relevance.
Yeah, I mean, Kittle was like the only relevant. I mean, I guess Debo was, but kind of like
shouldn't have been on Jimmy G's back.
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly passes behind the line. He wasn't really doing much. But it's a good point, Jimmy G. Now he doesn't have a job. Maybe that's Goff's future.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the first really interesting player here, right?
DeAndre
Swift. First off, Detroit has the 7th easiest running back schedule this year, projected. Of course, we don't really know until we know, but we can only go off of what we already do know. Last year finished as RB15. He missed 5 games and still finished RB15 overall. On a points per game basis, he was RB10. And that's like right where I have him as RB10 for this year.
He's starting to fall a little for me.
Why?
I don't know.
You're believing in the Hard Knocks hype, aren't you? Of Jamal Williams.
No. Even though they're all about Jamal Williams. No, I mean, I think he has some of the best talent as far as young running backs go. He's going to be catching the ball. They're going to use him the same way. Mm-hmm. He had a little bit of an injury bug last year that it did hurt. I owned him in a league, and it sucked having to sit him. But I don't know. I think that they're just going to have a little bit. They're not going to have to rely on passing and dumping off to him as much as they did. Knowing he's as good as he is at it, I think they should. I just think that they kind of use their weapons in the receiving game more, especially with, DJ Chark starting to make a name for himself and Jameson Williams once he's healthy.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, and that's definitely a big fear because in the first half of the year, the first 8 weeks, his highest carry total was 14.
Yeah,
he was getting targeted a ton, but then after the bye week, it just went completely down, and then he missed 4 games, and then he was done. Jamal, I still have him as, I think, RB.
What's the highest you think he can finish next year?
RB1.
Really?
Absolutely. I mean, he fits those categories that we've researched.
I know.
Yeah, I think there's only 4 guys that fit all 4 of it, like the age, the previous carries or touches in general, production. It's him, Javonte, Najee Harris, and Barkley. I think were the 4.
I think the 4th category was like coolest name.
Yeah, yeah, DeAndre, and he doesn't even spell it how everyone else does, so that's cool. He's my RB9. He's actually going RB8. So, I mean, the hype is there for him. Of course, the injury worry is there. He's not a huge guy, so you're always going to have that. And then you have Jamal Williams, PPR machine. But what I think will surprise a lot of people, if you go and look at his stats last year, he had a ton of carries, like way more than you would think. And right now
he did. I mean, he had the span where it was just him there.
Yeah, it was only 4 games, but over the whole year he had a lot of carries.
Yes,
they ran a ton last year.
Well, I was going to say that's what worries me with Swift is this is kind of like the off-brand version of the Packers backfield.
Well, and Jamal Williams came from that backfield before Dillon was there, so yeah.
And we know Jamal Williams is going to be involved because of last year, but also because of Hard Knocks and because of the way Campbell just loves the guy. And he's also good. Like, he's not bad. Yeah. Not like he's, they're just giving it to him because they have to.
So his numbers were kind of shocking last year in the way he was used. And I feel like they shouldn't use him like this year. He had 153 carries, which Swift, I think he was around 200 himself, not even 200.
Do you know what was his yards per carry, Williams?
Just under 4, 3.9.
Okay.
So while Swift was there, he had 12, 14, 13, 12, 15, 17, 11, and 13 carries. 2 of the weeks that Swift was out, he was out. And then the other 2 weeks, he only had 15 and 17 carries, which was only bumped up a few from what he was doing before Swift was out. So if this is how they're used again this year, or like if they share the carries like this, I'm with you. On Swift, he should be lower. I just feel like they're going to give Swift the ball more. That it's not going to be as even in terms of carries, I don't think. Now, will the passing game go more Jamal Williams' way? I do think that. I think Swift will carry the ball 18 times-ish and maybe a few, 3 to 5 passes, whereas Jamal Williams could come in and get 8 to 10 targets.
See, I think it's just straight split for everything by the end of the year.
I don't know. I mean, Jamal Williams is 27. He'll be 28.
Swift was way too good receiving, though.
Sure. And at the beginning of the year, the whole first half of the year, I don't know why it stopped. That would be a question for Dan Campbell, but it's not like the passes went up for Jamal Williams when they weren't going to Swift. They were still like the same as before. Yeah. The game plan changed. Something happened there, but
I believe the one lady that tweeted at me about it.
The lady, okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Source,
did I send it to you?
Trust me, bro.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
I can find it, but
it's okay.
It was basically she was saying that the offensive coach changed, and so their scheme changed.
Last year?
Yeah.
In the middle of the year. Okay, I don't remember that happening, but I believe it because that would make sense to why.
I'd like to give her a shout out if I can, so I'll find it for us.
Okay, I'll move on. But for Swift to finish RB15 and missing as many games as he did, their schedule being easier, my belief that he will carry the ball more this year, I'm perfectly fine with him being a top 10 running back. Wide receiver 1 for the Lions. How do you like to say his name? Because I've heard it said 2 different ways.
Amon-Ra.
Okay, so I've heard people say Amon-Ra.
Yeah, I like that more.
And Amon-Ra. I've always thought it was Amon-Ra. So anyway, we like to call him ASB here. This is the team of the AA Fantasy Football Podcast, the Detroit Lions. Even though we're Browns and Steelers fan, this is the pod team. So we have 3 teams this year. Anyway, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Currently going wide receiver 25, 66th overall. Last year, he finished as wide receiver 21. Do you want to hear the numbers over the last 6 weeks, Alan, of last year? Amon-Ra St. Brown averaged 10-plus targets in each of the last 6 games that he played. And he averaged 25.2 points per game. This will be his second year, and we constantly see second-year breakouts from receivers like this. Constantly. I mean, especially lately.
That's the good news. Okay, I actually found it real quick. She said, reason that second half fell apart, though, besides the injuries. Anthony Lynn was the play caller, and then he got his duties taken away. That's when you saw the shift from targeting running backs a tons to targeting the wide receivers. Lynn loves targeting running backs. He is gone.
Sure. Well, then we'll see where that plays out this year.
I'm going to say her name instead of that lady because Michelle Magdazuik.
So that lady,
she's got a check mark next to her name, so she's legit.
What is her position? It should say in her bio. Let us know.
Editorial researcher for the NFL Network, co-host of Ball Blast.
Oh, what a show name!
Yep.
I think Amon-Ra St. Brown should be going higher. That's just me. I would be glad to take him 66th overall. While we're here, let's do a little this or that. What do you think?
Well, let me give a little bit before you do that to spice it up even more.
Sure.
I love second-year breakouts.
Yes.
That's definitely what we look for. I have worry around him, though, because all of this production came when DeAndre Swift and Hawkinson were injured. So his volume is not as safe. They also have Jameson Williams coming to the team and DJ Chark, who's been lighting up during training camp. So his efficiency is probably going to be better than last year, but the target share is going to be different until second half of the year, even, I don't know, a third of the year way through.
Okay. ASB or Hollywood Brown?
It's kind of the same boat. I'd go Hollywood Brown.
I would go ASB. ASB or Allen Robinson?
Allen Robinson.
Also ASB for me. ASB or Adam Thielen?
ASB.
Wow, you know what you just did, by the way?
Oh,
you
man.
just broke your own rule, and you took a wide receiver 2 over a wide receiver 1 in an offense by saying Allen Robinson. Silly boy. You silly boy.
Is Amon-Ra the one?
Clear one.
Who else was there for him to compete with, though? To be honest, honestly, who else was there for him?
I mean, it took him half the year to be considered the wide receiver 1.
Which is how rookies usually are, so we can give him that.
Not receivers that average 25.5 points per game to end the year. ASB or Darnell Mooney?
Darnell.
Wow. We could not disagree more on this player. Wow. I don't even know where to go. I got to go lower and lower. I mean, he's going 7 picks after ASB. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to go that low. I
think Amon-Ra is one of the guys that I'll take if he falls into my lap. There's a lot of guys around him that I think are I want him over people, but I'm also not reaching for him. So it sounds like you would reach for him.
No, not necessarily. I would go higher than where he's going, but I think that ADP goes up when more regular drafts start happening. I think he'll go up probably 6-7 spots. He'll leak into the 5th, 6th turnover, I think, which I would be happy to take him there. If he's my wide receiver 3, I mean, come on. DJ Chark, like you mentioned, he's doing great in camp. What have we seen from DJ Chark?
Right.
I mean, not much for a while, but he has proven to be fantasy valuable in the past. So
and Jameson Williams, I think, are just sit and watch kind of guys.
Yeah.
Jameson Williams, I think, is worth drafting and holding.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I think Jameson Williams could shine in the second half the same way ASB did last year. I mean, he's a freak. I think Jameson Williams the best receiver in this draft class. Real life football.
Where are you over Drake London?
Real life football. Jameson Williams, best receiver. Most talented, physically gifted. He's just the best one.
Where are you on TJ Hawkinson?
I like him a lot. Last year, on a points per game basis, he finished as tight end 6. He missed 5 games, but he averaged 12.1 points per game. That puts him a full point over the next tier of tight ends. And missing 5 games, he finished tight end 15. So
he's in his 4th year.
Yeah,
that's the gold zone, the takeoff zone for tight ends.
Ooh. Okay.
So I expect it.
I know you're a big TJ guy.
I am.
Let's do this or that.
What's TJ's ADP? Do you have that?
He is going 64th overall, roughly.
Okay.
Dalton Schultz or TJ Hawkinson?
I'm going to say TJ.
Oh, okay, wow.
I'm starting to try to figure out my tight end strategy. So
okay. It's wavering a little back and forth. Okay.
Yep.
Hawkinson or Goddard?
Ooh,
keep in mind,
tough.
Keep in mind, Goddard 13 picks later, average ADP.
I think I'd go Goddard.
I'd go Hawkinson. The real thing is here, though, you got to stack them up against other players because that's where the tight ends are tricky, right? It's when you have the other talent around them. So let me pull that up for you. I said we're at 64. Yeah, there he is. Okay. See, then this is where you're okay, I'll wait for a tight end because I'm just not doing this. Jalen Hurts or TJ Hawkinson. I mean, it's not even
Jalen.
Yeah, it's not even close. Hawkinson or Hollywood Brown?
Hawkinson.
Well, that kind of surprised me. You're a big Hollywood guy.
I am.
He drops more passes than Antonio Gibson fumbles.
I just like that first little string he's going to have. 6 games without
he's going to get you to 6-0 real quick, and then
that's it.
Then I'll figure it out.
I'll let him get me 5-0, and then I'll trade him.
Okay, TJ Hawkinson or Allen Robinson?
Man, I'm gonna say Hawkinson.
I would go Robinson.
I'm gonna put the respect on his name.
Sure, and I don't blame you, but some of those tight ends going after Hawkinson, I think, can produce close enough to him where I would be happier with Robinson potentially catching. I mean, the best world that Allen Robinson could live in would be 10 to 12 touchdowns. I mean, he's man, he could have a great year. But yeah, anybody wants to take DJ Hawkinson in the 6th, I think he's valuable for it. If you get 2 running backs and 3 receivers, or 3 running backs, 2 receivers, and you run in and you're like, you just want to finish your starting lineup and you take Hawkinson, I'm all for it. Go ahead.
I agree.
Let's move on to the Bears, the last team.
The Bears.
The Bears. So Justin Fields, the quarterback. Yeah, go ahead. Talk about Justin Fields.
He's such a hard person to put your finger on.
Not me at all. I want him. You know what I see with Justin Fields? Remember that year that Jalen Hurts came in and played for the Eagles? It was like the last 4 games of the year, and he looked like terrible, but he was also like getting fantasy points.
Yep.
That's Fields this year, I think, all year. Their line is brutal.
It looks like it too. Like the weapons he has is basically the same. A good running back to rely on, and then 1 wide receiver.
He's going as QB 17. They have the 6th easiest schedule for quarterbacks. 4 of his last 5 games last year. In 2021, he averaged 20.7 points per game, which is right around where Kirk Cousins was. And in those 4 games out of the last 5, he finishes a top 10 quarterback in fantasy each of those weeks. So it's like, it looks terrible. It doesn't look like it's going to be good. But then out of nowhere, he finishes the game. He is like a garbage time quarterback, but with legs.
Yeah.
So
I like garbage time.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It wins you games. That's for sure.
So is he going to be the quarterback you go for in the 2 QB league?
No, because I don't care about rushing quarterbacks in that league with the passing bonuses.
Okay.
Unless I get like Lamar, who can run over 100 yards and get that bonus.
Is that league? You don't care about it, but then your first 2 picks last year were Josh Allen and Kyler Murray.
Yeah, but Josh Allen throws for like 1 billion yards. It wasn't because he runs. And Kyler, I just thought he would do both. He was disappointing.
Is it 4 or 6 for passing touchdowns?
All touchdowns are 6.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean Kyler. Yeah, I was like, oh cool. We had Kyler so high just in general. I thought he would throw for 300 and run for 100 like every game. The running back position for Chicago. Usually
worried about it.
Usually not interesting, right? It's kind of like solidified over the last few years. This is like Chris Carson territory. David Montgomery has been the ideal consistent RB2 with upside for 3 years, you think, for the Bears?
Yeah.
Why are we afraid of him this year?
I'm going to say the O-line and Khalil Herbert.
But they basically have the same O-line as last year.
Yeah.
Their O-line has never been good.
Well, doesn't he have one of the roughest schedules as far as
it's actually the number 1 easiest schedule this year.
Oh.
So he's currently going as RB17, 33rd overall. So basically like on the what would that be? The turn into the 3rd round. He's one of the first picks of the 3rd round right now. Or actually no, that's mid-3rd. My bad. Sorry. 24. Doing math. Too many mock drafts. Different formats. Last year
he was used so much last year.
Yeah, that's usually a thing that we like, right? High usage. Yeah,
but do you think that carries on?
So that's a good question. I like Khalil Herbert a lot. Montgomery last year finished RB19. He averaged 14 points per game. I mean, that's like what you want out of your RB2, and really that's better than some of the RB1s in the top 10. Herbert, though, it just seems like everything I've heard that he's going to be involved more, that this could become a committee. They have the 3rd string running back is, I think his last name's Ebner, something like that. He is like an awesome pass catching running back, and they drafted him this year. I can't remember out of what school, but he is like James White-esque. And there have been talks of him being a third down back as long as he picks up the blocking. So, yeah, the word around the Bears is that Montgomery may not be in there every single down like he has been in the past. Last year, in the 4 games that Montgomery missed, Herbert averaged 19.5 carries and 86 yards on the ground. He only got in the end zone once, but 2 out of those 4 games, he had 19 and 18-point games. So it's like he has shown flashes of being good enough to earn a share of the snaps. I don't know how many, though. It's a very uncertain situation. Would you be comfortable with him as your RB2, David Montgomery? Let's say you went Montgomery's going like middle, I guess third.
It might surprise you. I'd probably rather have Barkley.
Well, yeah, you'd have to draft Barkley a full round earlier. Barkley's going mid-second.
Oh.
Yeah. But so, yeah, I'm with you.
It's very late here at the Eastern Standard Time.
Is it?
9:30, man. I'm reading my book in bed.
Oh my god.
Najee Harris had an 85% rushing share.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only person I can find that was ahead of Montgomery at 83. Somebody like Eckler, who I felt like they used a ton, was around 60.
Yeah, he didn't run the ball a ton.
I mean, I just feel like I'm going to be a little shocked if he gets beyond 70 this year. Like 60 to 70, his usage as far as the rushing share goes, with Herbert being effective, I could see it being, 70-30.
Okay, let's play.
I don't think that hurts him that much as far as like the RB2 situation goes, though. Like,
I kind of do. If his carries go down and his passing game goes down, I don't think he's very efficient. He needs a lot of volume to be good. You know who he is exactly?
Only 10%, though.
You know exactly who he is like? Josh Jacobs. Like, you need to get the ball a lot to be good. And like you're saying, I don't know if he's going to get it as much as normal. Let's play a little this or that. Let's say you had the 6th pick in the draft this year. You started with Justin Jefferson with your first pick. And then with your second pick, you went Alvin Kamara.
Okay.
Middle of the second. You're coming back through the 3rd round. You have a really good wide receiver, and you have a top 5 potential running back as long as he's playing every down this year. And then you have staring at in your face, middle of the 3rd round. Are you taking your second wide receiver in T. Higgins, or are you taking your second running back in David Montgomery?
Probably T. Higgins.
Yeah, I can't believe you didn't answer that faster. T. Higgins to the moon, brother. Okay, David Montgomery. Or Cam Akers.
He's so hard to put your finger on.
He is one of the absolute hard. Let's go back in time here, shall we, with Cam Akers? Do you remember 2 years ago when people were taking him like 9th overall, thinking like he was going to be amazing? Poor guys. I mean, geez, Achilles.
Henderson's good, and
yeah, he is. So is Herbert.
I'd go Montgomery.
Herbert's good too. So you'd go Montgomery over Cam Akers?
Yes.
See, I don't think I would. I mean, McVay literally, I don't care what he says out loud. His history speaks for itself. The guy who starts for the Rams gets all the carries. And if that's going to be Cam Akers, their offense is going to be so good that I want his touchdown upside because he'll get it at the goal line. Pending health, but I mean, the same could be said for Montgomery. His workload's been crazy. This could be his year of Derrick Henry, like getting hurt because of his workload.
Would you rather have Montgomery or Jacobs?
Ugh.
Since you brought it up.
God. I guess Montgomery.
Montgomery or Breece Hall?
Breece Hall. I would take a receiver where Montgomery's going and get Breece Hall later.
What about Sutton or Montgomery?
Sutton.
I think is Sutton going later, though?
He's going later, yeah.
Yeah.
Could have both, but I'll take Sutton gladly. I take ETN. Here's my full PPR. Where do I got David Montgomery?
Would you say you would take Pitts over Montgomery too? I'm sure.
Yeah, probably, but that would be tough because I'm just not a tight end guy. I love Pitts, but like, man, I don't know.
Well, Pittman.
Ooh.
Or Montgomery.
Pittman by a mile. I have Breece Hall ahead of David Montgomery, Cam Akers, Zeke, AJ Dillon. Right around Montgomery, I have J.K. Dobbins. That would be a discussion in my mind, but I even think I would take Dobbins just because I think their rushing game is going to be so much better.
That's just like.
And Montgomery has been so steady. Like I don't know. I feel like I'm trying. Maybe I'm trying.
He's a part of our boring team.
Yes, for sure. It should be called the Montgomerys. Like that's the team name. But I think I'm like in my own head trying to be ahead of the curve on him, like hitting his career wall because I don't think he's like that amazing. He's like super discount version of Matt Forte, and I can't stand it. Sometimes I'm like, dude, he's not Matt Forte. Like, stop. Anyway,
we got a year until that wall.
Huh?
We got a year.
You think?
He's 25, 26 next year. Fall off.
I don't care about the 20. You don't fall off at 27. You just don't finish first when you're 27. That's all. Like, you could be a solid RB2 at 27. Come on now.
Darnell Mooney.
Yes, Darnell. Currently going wide receiver 27, 70th overall. Last year he finished as wide receiver 23, and he had 140 targets last year. That was really surprising to me. I did not know he had that much volume. He had 1,055 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. So 5 total touchdowns and over 1,000 yards. Sky's the limit for Mooney, man.
I was going to say, I think all of that stays the same, except he probably finishes higher.
See,
I could see him finishing around 18 to 20.
Yeah, I guess I could see that too. It's just with them, is Fields going to be able to run around enough behind that bad line again, find Mooney breaking off his routes again, and still making these? Because, like, I don't know how much you saw last year of the Bears, but I constantly, the biggest plays that Mooney would make were like really bad broken down coverages. He would make catches over guys that seem like really fluky.
He had to put in the work.
He can make great plays. I'm not saying that his ability to do it was fluky. It's just, I definitely love his upside. I would not be upset taking him at all. I just worry about the repeatability of it just because, but no Allen Robinson. So it might even open up more for him, but I actually think the guy that we're probably going to talk about in a second may flourish a little more with the vacant Robinson targets.
Absolutely.
Do you have any other interest in any receivers? Like, do you even want to talk about any?
I don't.
Okay.
We'll say the name for the sake of it. It's Byron Pringle. I didn't have any use for him when he was in Kansas City. I don't know.
The other one is Equinemius St. Brown. That is Amon-Ra St. Brown's brother, in case anyone was wondering.
I love how unique their names are.
Yeah.
And his dad's name's John Brown.
Smokey? Smokey?
No, not Smokey, unfortunately.
Hey,
isn't it Amon-Ra St. Brown the second or something like that?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he put the second on the end of the name, but he's not a second.
Didn't we discuss this? What the difference between juniors and seconds? Because if you're the second, you can be your grandpa could be the first. It doesn't have to be a dad, but if you're a junior, it's your father.
I wonder if they're just both his grandpa's names. Like Equinemius is the one, Amon-Ra is the other.
Maybe. I don't know.
Just saying, it'd be cool. We should ask him.
Can I throw out a random name for this Bears wide receiver core and just get your reaction to it?
Yeah.
Tajay Sharp.
It's
interesting.
Isn't he a flyer?
I mean, he's undrafted, but I mean, we've seen little bits, especially in Atlanta last year at the end of the year.
Wasn't he with the Vikings before that?
I think he's been with a couple teams. honestly.
Yeah.
I know he's started.
Never been relevant.
I thought he was with the Titans. Yeah, okay. Titans, Vikings, Chiefs, and then Falcons, and now.
Yeah, if you can't get relevant with Kirk Cousins or Patrick Mahomes, or even Tannehill for the sake of that,
you know,
it's not going to be Justin Fields making him.
It wasn't Tannehill at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Although he did have a year with him, like a little bit of a year.
I don't know if I could tell you who it was before Tannehill.
Mariota.
Ah, that's right.
Yep.
That's why he wasn't relevant.
Yeah. Good one. Delaney Walker wants to talk to you. Cole Kmet, speaking of really good tight ends in Delaney Walker. Cole Kmet going tight end 13, 126th overall. If you wait on tight end, I think this could be a prime candidate, especially in PPR formats. What say you, my friend?
I like it. Late round guy. I think the difference between tight end 8 and tight end 14 is not that big. So he's definitely somebody that could dabble up in there for us.
Yeah, at least how they finish. Expectations are a whole different thing. I mean, tight end 8 right now is Dallas Goedert. And I know you love you some Dallas Goedert. So
Cole Kmet saw 50 targets last year.
Yeah.
He did not score a single touchdown.
Right.
So,
and with no Allen Robinson, though,
I could see that going
I
up.
feel like 20% at least of those targets go to him. At least. Probably more with the lack of receiving options, to be honest. This guy is going to be the underneath threat when Justin Fields is running for his life behind that line, and he's going to meet him right on the... You know how many sideline toe tap catches Cole Kmet is going to have this year? Because Justin Fields is running to the right, like trying not to die.
Hopefully a lot.
Kmet may have 65 receptions.
65
receptions.
Toe tap, sideline receptions.
No, just receptions. I mean, probably 40 of them will be toe tappers, let's be honest.
At least.
Yeah. He's going ahead of Hunter Henry. How do you feel about that?
I don't get it. Like, Hunter Henry has never been bad for fantasy.
I don't know what it is. I think I'm with the general population. I'm not into Hunter Henry at all. I don't know.
But you can't argue that. He's never been bad for fantasy.
But if I saw his name, I could never select it.
You're like, meh.
You belong on the Montgomerys. Like, that's where you go, Hunter Henry.
Wasn't he like tight end 3 last year for like half of the year or something ridiculous?
Yeah, he started really hot. But, you know, I do understand why maybe right now people are fading him with how many targets and plays are being drawn up for Jonnu.
Yeah.
I know I keep mentioning Jonnu, but, like, I see stuff every day. Like, Tyquan Thornton.
You mentioning him just makes me not want to take either of them.
It's nothing that I feel. I wouldn't draft Jonnu either, but I just keep seeing it every day. It's Tyquan Thornton for the Patriots, and it's Jonnu Smith. Like, they're competing for the most targets every game or every practice, whatever. But yeah, Cole Kmet, another one of those late guys that if you wait on tight end, I think we both kind of sign off and say that reasonable pick. And that is it. That is our NFC North preview. I believe we are changing the schedule of the show starting next week. We will be putting out the NFC East. No, we started with the East.
We just did the East.
West.
I think South.
West. We don't know. We went. I don't even know. East, South, West. I don't know. North.
East, North, South, West.
That's what we did last time?
Yep.
Wow.
No, that's just what's in here now.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll be doing the NFC South.
I don't know why we did that.
I don't either. You did the second half scheduling after I did the first. There's no pattern. There's no rhyme or reason. We just do things sometimes.
We just want some people to feel a little important because we didn't hit them first last year.
Anyway, NFC South will be out Tuesday morning. So make sure you guys follow the YouTube, follow the Twitter, follow the TikTok. It's all going to be below, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're watching or not watching, listening on Spotify.
We're just feeling.
Yeah.
Just feeling our presence.
Are you vibing? Because we're vibing. I'm looking right at you. If you're watching, We're vibing. Are you vibing? All right. Take them home, Alan.
Double A Fantasy Football.